Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. This is the big match preview, and it is a big match preview this week as we get ready to take on fellow playoff contenders Leyton Orient over at Brisbane Road on Saturday. Joining me to look ahead to that game, first up in a dashing yellow away shirt, is Sue Gallop. How you doing, Sue?
I'm all good. When you were saying big, I was like, you're not referring to mine and Mark's size, are you? Cheeky.
Well, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it if we were still in the studio face to face. But I feel like online you can say anything about anyone, can't you? Really? So yeah, I was. Yeah. Also joining us at the bottom of the screen, they're also wearing the yellow away shirt that somehow looks a completely different colour to Sue's one, despite being the same shirt. Is Mark Newbury? How do you, Mark?
Well, I'd say mine's probably spread over a bigger area. That's why it probably looks as bad. So I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
Yeah, good to see you. So on tonight's show, then we will, of course, be looking ahead to the massive game over at Brisbane Road on Saturday. The Addicts taking on Leyton Orient, who sit just above us in the table. They're inside the playoff places. We're behind them only on goal difference. We'll look ahead to that game. We're going to hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones, as he looks ahead to that fixture as well. We're going to talk about our away form. We're going to talk about the running, try and work out who's got the easier running out of all the sides in and around it in the top six. We're also going to hear, of course, from Leyton Orient legend, BBC Radio London's Orient reporter, commentator, Dave Victor will be joining us right at the end of the show. He's got other commitments, so he's been very kindly going to cut them short and join us near the end of the show. So we're going to have some of the info on the O's from Dave. Imagine a very tired Dave Victor, because Orient have been back and forth up and down the country quite a lot over the last few weeks, something that we're all hoping is going to play into our hands on Saturday. Good evening to everyone who joins us in the chat this evening. Let us know your thoughts ahead of the trip to East London. All hell let loose says, evening. I think everybody will agree that Saturday is a massive game. Can we go to another promotion contender and win? A draw wouldn't be a disaster, but we must aim to win. And I'm certain that's the sort of mindset we'll be going there. With Gary says, good evening. He fancies 3 points. Evening to Sam. Mickey's in there. John, Tim, Dudley, Toby, Charlton 75. Tom's joining us. Paul's joining us. Sam, Stuart, Peter, Ed's in there. Let us know your thoughts. And Chris, ahead of Saturday's trip there, how big a game is this? I mean, how can you see us going there and winning? What do we need to do to go there and win? Give us your thoughts. Email studio@charltonlive.co.uk. You can tweet us at Charlton Live. The best thing to do is leave a comment in the live section on our YouTube video. Sue, I mean, before we hear from Nathan Jones telling us how big this game is, I mean, Jamie Donnelly, the Leyton Orient forward, who famously hit a shot off target in the FA Cup against Man City, and everyone bangs on about it going in. But he said it's the biggest game of the season. It feels like it is at the moment.
It's weird, isn't it, that we're in a position where we're sort of saying, when you think years gone by, like that this is potentially one of our biggest games of the season. But I think sort of going on what we talked about last week, again, taking each game as it is and just playing our best game and being the best version of ourselves. Should we play bingo tonight? So I just think, yeah, it is massive. I think, like we said with the Birmingham game, it's a big sort of indicator on where we're at, where we might be at. But at the same time, I think, I guess we haven't had a decision about the players' red card from the other night yet, have we, of whether they're appealing it. But I feel like we're strong enough to beat them with what we've got, as long as we play to the best of our ability that we saw on Saturday. So, yeah, I think it is a massive game, but every game's massive when you get to this end of the table and you're this close to getting into the playoffs.
Exactly that. And these are the games we want to be involved in. These are the sort of situations we want to find ourselves in between now and the end of the season. Big games. And, they don't come much bigger than Leyton Orient coming up on Saturday. Let's hear what the Addicts boss then, Nathan Jones, had to say about this. A little bit of team news in here as well. This is Nathan Jones looking ahead to the clash over at Leyton Orient.
Superb on Saturday, slotting in for the ill Greg Doherty. Firstly, how pleasing is it to know that you've got players who can step in so effectively for short notice? And secondly, of course, how's Greg, and is he over the illness?
Yeah, Greg's we've got fully fit squad to choose from, but it's great to have people like Roy that can come in and stuff. But Groy's not here to come in and do a job. That's the competition. Now we let a lot of midfielders go. We let a lot of people. We streamlined the squad. We let 7 go. We brought 2 in, and that's why we did it, because we want to have this just really tight elite squad that are all competing, and everyone feels like they're going to play, or they got an opportunity to play. And if they play well, then that's what we're looking for, and that's the environment we got now. I mean, this time last year I came to the football club, there was probably about 30 outfield players, and that was too many. So they had so many outside the squad that showed great attitude, but there was that passenger syndrome, really, where they didn't really feel like they were going to play. They worked hard, but there wasn't that cutting edge in every single training session. We have that now.
I mentioned 8 of our remaining 14 are away. 4 of those against sides that currently sit in the top 6. So it's going to be a tough run in. Of course, the first of those is up at Brisbane Road on Saturday. Orient have improved considerably since the first time we met very early on in the season, but so have we. So you'll be expecting a really big game on Saturday. Yeah,
it is. But the good thing about playing against people that are direct oppositions to you, if you turn up and win the game, then they're big wins. So. That's we want. If we want to affect our own future, then we have to play the best sides. Orient are one of those. They're one of the best form sides in the league. They're really well coached. They've got an excellent environment. They've got good footballers. They're in a really good place. But again, so are we. So we are going there, and we want, as long as we are the best versions of ourselves. That's all I can ask for, and I keep repeating that phrase. But that's all we ask for.
It's going to be a sold out section of Charlton fans at Brisbane Road on Saturday. It's one of those games that we could have sold out 3 or 4 times over, I suspect. How important is that going to be in the running as well?
Oh, massively. I expect it from our fans, because they are wonderful, and when it's just down the road, they travel everywhere, but when it's just down the road, I expected them to go in hordes. And look, all I can say is, look, let's be part of a big day for us. We're going to have to play our part, they're going to have to play their part, and if we both do that, then it can be a wonderful day. Cheers, thank you.
Rich, anything to add from you?
Yeah, just on the Orient game, I wanted to ask you first of all what you made of their season so far. They've had a good season up to now, haven't they?
Oh, they've been excellent. He's done a wonderful job there, Richie. And I know, I've played with Paul Terry, and Alan McCormack. He was my captain at Leyton. So it's no coincidence that 3 players that have had good careers that are changing the fortunes or continuing the fortunes, because they're a good football club at Leyton Orient, and they're in wonderful form. They've, as we've seen, we've had 2 games against them, won 1, lost 1. So it's margins, and I expect that's going to be the same.
There we go. That's Nathan looking ahead to the game on Saturday. I'm going to dive straight in, Mark, with a difficult question. Who's under more pressure? Who does this game mean more to on Saturday? The away team, who've on a good run of form, won last time out away at Exeter, but sit outside the playoffs, need to climb into that top 6, or is the pressure on a Leyton Orient side, who've lost their last two like very difficult, or lost 2 away games recently, I should say, 2 very difficult away games against Bolton and against Birmingham City, we should add, but they're on a little bit of a run now with those 2 defeats. Is the pressure on them, or is it on us?
I think for being the home team, the pressure is on them. And I think that's we can use with a loud crowd and getting into them early. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those, blood and guts London derbies, which could go either way. But we know we've got enough quality to pressure them. And we know we've got enough quality. If they score, we've got enough quality to equalise and go on and win it. So I think the pressure on them, especially after their defeats, and they've had a couple of red cards as well. And I think there's that bit of self-doubt which gets in there, and you start thinking, what if we lose this one? What if we lose, we can't afford to lose, especially they're looking over their shoulder and they're seeing us, and we're sat very, very close behind them. If someone was that close behind you on a bus, you'd turn around and have a word, because it's just too close. So I think the pressure is on them. It doesn't mean we're not going to be feeling pressure because of the form we're in at the moment. I mean, we can't afford to take anything lightly, but this isn't going to be the defining moment of our season. It really isn't. It's going to be a step to where we are going, in the future. And it sounds funny because because suddenly if we get Saturday out of the way, Barnsley suddenly becomes the big one we're going for. So you've got to get it into perspective and say, right, are we going to define our season with how many games to go after this one? No, but I think they are there and you can get to them and we can rattle them. So,
yeah, as Mickey says, a big game Saturday. I think we'll go there not to lose. So maybe 0-0 and hopefully nick something on the break. Really hope for a win, but they're not a bad side. But the bubble's got to burst. I mean, I've never known Nathan Jones go anywhere with the mindset of let's not lose this game. Sue, I think how we attack the start of Saturday is going to be interesting. But I think we will aim to be on the front foot and try and put them under a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, I think you've got to, especially with the away games where I know we said like our strengths have been in our home games. Our home record is like amazing. So I think when you're going away from home, particularly somewhere that's quite a difficult place to go, particularly at the moment, I think you've just got to go for it, play your own game, try not to worry too much about the other side and what they can potentially do. And I think, yeah, with the players that we've got in our squad, we're perfectly capable of putting out a decent performance. And like I say, going back to last Saturday, we sort of said that was probably one of our most whole performances over the season. And again, if we play like that again, it's just going to be, I feel like we could win it. But I do still think it's going to be a tight one because I think they'll probably be a little bit harder to break down as easily as we did with Exeter.
Yeah, I mean, most clean sheets at home in League One, joint with Birmingham City after obviously they went there and lost 1-0 on Tuesday evening. Mark, I mean, looking at ourselves, team news at this early stage of the show, I mean, the big debate after Saturday was Karoy Anderson over Doherty. In my gut feeling is that he will revert to Doherty because even though Karoy had a really good game, I think Doc has been consistent over the course of the last few weeks, whereas obviously Karoy has been in fits and starts at times this season. Which way do you see that going? Is there any other sort of changes you'd like to see in this team to attack Orient on Saturday?
No, I'm pretty much in the keep it. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. The Karoy Doc one, because it's going to be one of those real intense midfield battles, I'd probably put Doc in for his experience more than Karoy's energy. So you've got him if you've got him on the bench to come on, it's not working half time and you need to change it. But I thought Karoy was best player last Saturday and he got all the plaudits for it. He was unlucky with a header and he was everywhere. But I think for this kind of tactical game, you'd want your more experienced player in the middle to deal with that because they're not a mug side, Orient. I don't think they're all that, but the statistics prove me wrong. But I truly, having seen them, not counting the cup game where they came to us, but seen them during different times of the season, they've not really. I've not looked at them and gone, "Wow, they've got some players." They work well as a team, and I think, but so do we. So, but I would go Doc. And I don't think it's a reflection on Karoy at all. I just think it's tactical.
Yeah, interesting point. So, yeah, I mean, we referenced the two games we played against Leyton Orient already this season, Sue. So, obviously, our first home league game of the season was against the O's, that last-minute winner from Luke Berry. I remember on that day, I think they lost the first 3 or so, Orient, and then, I mean, they had a big wobble. They got beat 3-0 at Shrewsbury, which sort of made me think, I wonder what's going on here. Because when they played us at the Valley, there wasn't a great deal in it, and I thought they didn't look like a side that would struggle at all. But, I mean, when they came to us in the EFL Trophy, they absolutely wiped the floor with us. That was right when we were in the middle of our difficult spell, if you want to call it that. Call it that nicely. And they beat us 2-0 with 2 late goals. Could have been 5 or 6 throughout the course of the evening. I mean, we can't go there and underestimate them just because they've lost a couple of games. And the thing we should pick up about the 2 games they've lost recently, Bolton and Birmingham, are losable games, which is an unusual. Like, there's if they'd lost to Northampton and I don't know, Burton, then maybe there'd be some question marks. But they have lost to 2 very good sides, so I don't think we can even say the bubbles burst there because they've lost the last 2.
No, definitely not. Because again, and I think we discussed this throughout the season, is that a lot of the teams probably in the top 10 or so, there's not a lot in it in terms of other than Birmingham, who are like the runaways, I think there's not a lot in it in terms of the performances we've seen from those other teams. So it's not like, I think anyone, like we said again last Thursday, anyone is capable of beating anybody in this league. So I think you can't, for Orient, you don't read too much into them 2 games that they've lost because of who they played against. But again, it's like we can't then just take it for granted that we're just going to steamroller them, because they're going to be wanting to get back on their sort of their good run that they've been having for such a long time. And again, they're probably looking at us and say like what they fancy their chances against us, particularly because it's their home game. So it's I think we can't read too much into that, them losing 2 games in a row. Everyone in this league has had a wobble, haven't they? Probably barring Birmingham. So, yeah, I think we just got to it is just another game. And I know it's easy for me to say that, but it is just another game. And we've just got to go into it with the same mindset that we have with all the other games we've played.
Yeah, and as Isaac said, I mean, before those 2 games, they went and won at Wrexham. So clearly, absolutely... no mugs. Ross just says they're a great team, Orient, a well-oiled machine. We have to show our class and go and do them and make a statement. They've got a very good manager as well in Richie Wellens. I've been really impressed with the way he sort of has handled that side and the way he's brought them up through the leagues. I mean, if you I listened to a lot of his interviews post-game, and he's similar to Nathan, one that demands a lot from his side, and you can hear when he's up, you can hear how upset he can be after games that you'd think, well, you've lost a game that was losable, like the Bolton game. He was very frustrated. Obviously, Birmingham, they had a player sent off. As Tom points out, it's not a happy hunting ground for us. He says, our last 3 games, we've lost there 1-0. It's another bogey side, I guess, for us. Hopefully, we can overcome that as well. It has been a struggle. I mean, last year was a real low point, I think, actually, when we went to Brisbane Road on Boxing Day. I think that was the start of when it very really started to turn on Michael Appleton, Mickey Apple's last season, Mark. I mean, it is, as I said, Orient's home record has been impressive this year, particularly the clean sheets. It will be a tough game. Like we can't underestimate this game for sure. No,
we certainly can't. I mean, I remember last one. Like I say, you talk about a Christmas game, because I remember doing the show before then, and we were talking about the fixtures coming up, and we were said like, well, if we could get this, if we can get that, and then it was like a row of dominoes. We just boom, boom, boom. But I think the fact you've got to look at the man who was at the helm of that game and say, right, there's a reason we didn't turn up then. And I've seen us win at Brisbane Road, so I'd consider a bogey side team you haven't beaten for 10 or 20 years over a certain time. I don't think you can look back and say, the last few games. I think start of the season, when we beat them, where they should have gone down to 10 straight away with Sean Clare's dreadful tackle. And I just think to myself, we can go it. We can go there and take them on. And we've got the players. We've got really confident players at the moment. You look at the Ramsey Small connection down that right hand side. Yes, they've only lost 1-0 or 2-0 to Birmingham with 10 men, but playing against a team like Birmingham with 10 men is going to just drain you. So, and I think one of our strengths as we have it is our physicality and the fact that we can go 100 minutes. So it gets to 90 plus 6, 90 plus 7. We've still got the energy to go that. We might not have the guile sometimes. And reading in the chat, people talking about Gilbert coming in for Berry. I think Nathan's just got to take it. And we talked about it last week and said now he's got a bench. He can look behind him and say, game changer, game changer, game changer. So he can put Gilbert on for half an hour and say, right, go and show us. Would you, with no disrespect to Berry, who's I think has been playing really, really well, you're not going to look at that bench and go, can Luke Berry go on and change that game for you? So I wouldn't change it. And I think we can attack them and I think we can be successful. Whether we will be, and I said, well, I don't think we're going to lay down. And again, they want to stop the rot. So it's a tough call. It's just a tough call, I think.
Big Daddy Cat has joined us. Going to be a really tough away game. 2 sides banging form. It's going to be a great day with a sellout away end. Obviously, we have to add our congratulations to Lewis and Daisy for the birth of their young daughter. So a massive congratulations from all of us on Charlton Live, of course. If anyone's wondering where he's been, that's what he's been quite busy. I can, from experience, you keep your hands full for a few weeks and then you just leave them with your wife. Paul says Karoy played really well, but Exeter didn't exactly put up much resistance. Even with injuries and suspensions, Orient will be a very different proposition. Doc needs to come back into the side. Sam says these aren't Birmingham. If we turn up, no reason we can't get the win. If we get the win, we give ourselves a great chance of top 2. Everyone's getting carried away again. I'm still thinking about top 6. Evening, Emma's joined us in the chat. Alan says don't lose to the ones above. So the importance of not losing, Sue, on Saturday, how much does that come into your mind? Because like I say, I don't see Nathan Jones going. There's no such thing as a must not lose for Nathan Jones. There's must wins, or we, this is a game we want to win. He doesn't. If we get to 5 minutes from the end, and it's 0-0, and we've got a few like tired bodies, so then go, all right, we'll take the point. I mean, at what point does that come into your mind?
I don't know really, and I'm trying to remember what we put down on our thing last week when we were saying about, was it a must win or was it a we take a draw?
So I actually budgeted for this as one. Look, we can afford to lose it because we can pick up the wins in other games. But when you get to it, the psychological element of losing this game, I think, is more important. And also, I don't want to give 3 points to Leyton Orient when they've just lost 2 games. I think if we can make that 3, that will weigh heavy on their minds as well.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I think if we're going into the game and we're mentality wise, Nathan is never going to go into a game setting the team up for a draw. We know that he'll expect the win. He expects his expectation levels are massive for the squad that we've got, and I think he's not scared. He's shown it before to make early substitutions if he needs to. So I think if we get into sort of 60, 65, he won't be frightened to change it up if it needs it. If we're looking like we're just going to plod out a draw, a 0-0 draw, then I think he would change it up. And we have got the players on the bench to be able to then have those impact subs coming on and really making a difference. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely winnable. I feel like we should win it on paper. But again, we can't, like we repeated it, we keep repeating it. Let's not get too cocky. Let's not get too above ourselves. Play our game. Worry about us. Don't worry about other people and other results. And just try and relax. Not get too sort of wobbly about it.
I mean, we are going to worry about other results in the second half of the show. I've got a whole thing sectioned off where we're going to talk about other results. So we're going to look at the run-ins for the other teams, not like game by game, but I found a stat that I find quite interesting that we'll talk about. Peter says, big game this weekend. If we do get a draw, it would be a decent result against these lot, but I believe we can win it 1-0. How do we go about winning this game then, Mark? That's one of the things I've been thinking about as well. So an Orient side that aren't conceding many goals at home, as we've spoken about. They freshened up their back line. Perhaps with Reg who's coming, it sounds like he's done quite well for him over there. I mean, who is the player you've sort of got in your mind? I think he's going to be the match winner for us on Saturday.
I think it's funny because you say about Reg, because I saw him get an assist and then I saw him absolutely drop an absolute ricket in defence. So you're thinking, yeah, that's pretty much what we expected. For us, it's going to be small, and I think if their guy hasn't had his card overturned and they've got someone who's not their normal left back facing both him and Ramsey, that's the thing. I mean, we've seen it a lot recently. Teams, they know how we like to attack, and so they're doubling up. And it proved when we played Exeter, they doubled up, they fouled him. That guy got a card, very yellow, then got subbed because they couldn't trust him not to do another foul. And I think that's the way we've got to go. And once he's passed somebody and he's putting things in the box, we're getting bodies in the box more now than we were at the start of the season. And you've got Godden sniffing, you've got TC, going about his business with a smile on his face and enjoying it. And, you saw him and Lieber looking at their goals last week. And it was quite sweet to see the kind of like the pleasure they've got from watching them. Not a cocky pleasure, but just like, yeah, I've practiced that all the time in training. and it's come off, and you're thinking, good, it's good to see. So I think Small's got to be our danger man, as he has been for the last 10 games. I mean, he keeps cutting in and then putting one into the stand and stuff. One of these, he's going to cut in and he's going to curl one top bin, and it's going to be a thing of beauty. So Small's the answer to that one.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, Spamfish says get the ball to TC and to Small. Lewis is saying Small and TC are critical, and they did play the league leaders with 10 on Tuesday night. How much is that going to play into it as well, Sue? So, I mean, Dave will tell us more about this when we speak to him later on in the show. But Leyton Orient have been on a nasty run of difficult fixtures at the moment in terms of travelling. So on Tuesday night, they were at Birmingham. The Saturday before that, they were at Bolton. The Tuesday before that, they were at Wrexham. They had Saturday, Tuesdays at home before that. They obviously had the Man City Cup game, which would have taken up a lot of effort as well. After they play us, they've got to go to Rotherham as well on Tuesday. I mean, their schedule is ridiculous compared to what ours been over. We haven't had a Tuesday for a couple of weeks, I think. So, I mean, is that going to play a part with the travelling? We saw how difficult it was for us when we had that three-week sort of northern away games in a row.
I think it must definitely play a part, and I don't know how they prepped for that. I mean, we did have that week, didn't we, where we stayed up north when we had those few games in a row up there that was trying to help with the players being able to have a bit of downtime and rest time if it was needed. And so we don't know if they did that. But I think when you've played against such a good side as Birmingham with 10 men, that's going to be exhausting. So mentally and physically. So that could go in our favour. But then I think you look at it, it's like when they play Saturday, Tuesday, sometimes that increases your sharpness. So the fact that we've had 2-3 weeks where we haven't had a Tuesday night game sometimes can go against us. So I think it's just one of them. It's like how they turn up on the day. You can't read too much into who's been where, how often they've been playing. I think, yeah, mentally it's probably been quite exhausting for them with having the Saturday, Tuesdays and the distance wise. But they're at home. They should be at their like peak level, really. They're pro, aren't they? So yeah, I can't see it really coming into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping it does, but you're right. You know, professionals they probably won't. Tom's saying Leeburn for me is much better off the bench. The impact he's made the last 2-3 games off the bench has been brilliant. He's got a brilliant goal last week as well. Yeah, and as we sort of said earlier, I'll be surprised if there's much in the way of changes. Sam saying if Ramsey can run up against Pratley, then Kane's going to completely outrun him. Well, you say that. I know he's 40-odd years old, Darren, but he's one thing he's got is the engine to keep going, isn't he? Maybe not the pace, but yeah, it'll be good to see him on Saturday. Got a few of our former players, actually. It's weird, isn't it, how I'm hoping a lot of them play. Because, yeah, but that's not for me to say, of course. But no, maybe not Pratley because he's a bit of a legend. Maybe we're better off with him not playing. I mean, the atmosphere is going to be electric, Mark, on Saturday as well. You know, again, we're going away to Brisbane Road. We're not going away to Galatasaray. I don't think it's going to be the most intimidating atmosphere we've ever played in. But, you know, the away crowd's going to play their part on Saturday to try and do the boys up, and it's sold out. Obviously, we could have comfortably sold out that entire stand. I remember last time I saw us win there because I missed the one that was on telly when Solly scored. I was on holiday. We had the entire stand on the far side. I think like Dion Burton or Shelby or maybe both scored in that game. But yeah, the atmosphere is going to be big on Saturday as well.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because it's a small, compact ground, you know, tight on the pitch as well. You know, with a big block of flats looking over on the top of it. Yeah, and we are a loud away crowd. That's the thing, and that's going to make the noise. And you feel from when you hear the players talking that it does help them. It does motivate them. Sometimes you wonder, you know, can you actually pick up on that as a player, or are you just concentrating on the game itself? But from the way our players talk, they say, yeah, we can hear the noise, and you know. Even at Birmingham, they said, you know, 2,000 outsung 20,000, and it's, you know, that's what helps sometimes, and that could be the bit which gets you over the edge. I mean, very famously, Delia trying to get the Norwich crowd to say we need a 12th man. And, that's what you can be as a fan sometimes. And I think it's funny because I think in the olden days, we were fairly loud when we the Premiership, and we did 26,000. It was a good noise anyway from our crowd. And then obviously that's gone over the years. But the away support is terrific. And I haven't seen an away support come to us, which has been better than our away support away. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. And I think it's going to help.
Lovely stuff. Shiny Phil says, as far as I'm concerned, every remaining match now is winnable for us. It's up to Nathan Jones and the players to do their best, and hopefully that hard work will play off. Lovely stuff. Right, we're going to have a quick break. When we come back, we will continue to look in towards the game at Leyton Orient on Saturday, and we'll have a little look at the running for all the sides in and around the top six as well.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live. This is the big match preview. We are looking ahead to a very big match for the Addicts away at Leyton Orient on Saturday. Big game in the race for the playoffs in League One. Last week we looked at our running and we assigned all the games as sort of winnable. One that we might win and then one that we could lose, and worked out how many points we needed to pick up in certain games to get to the rough sort of points total that I thought we might need for the playoffs. Now, Nathan Jones was speaking earlier on today in his press day. He was asked about the amount of points he thinks we might need to get into the top 6.
14th clean sheet of the season. We've just done 4 league wins at home on the bounce as well. If we replicate the sort of results over the previous 14 over the last 14 of the season, would you expect that that'd be good enough to get us into those purposes?
Well, we can't second guess that. I think it's 5 wins on the road, so at home. But I'm not sure I'm not sure anyone knows what you're going to need or anything. All you can do is you take each game as it comes. It's a cliche. It's everything. As I said, said so many times, we do everything in 5-game blocks. What our points total is or needs to be, and if we hit those, then historically we'll be in the right position. But as I said, we're not going to know. There's so many good sides now around it. It's obviously narrowing it down slightly to probably 6 or 7 that they're going to be in there, and it's good to be in the mix. All we can do is take each game as it comes. We've got real, big week coming up, big month coming up, and a big few months. So it's just the start of a real pivotal period, really.
How much did you sort of keep across the midweek results? Are you someone that would sit there, sort of trying to get updates as regularly as you can? You just wait till the end of the night to see what the results were of the Huddersfield and Orient games? No,
I watched the Orient Birmingham game, which was a spectacle for all of 11 or 12 minutes. So, we do our due diligence. I could have gone to either game, could have gone to either Birmingham or the Northampton game because we played Barnsley. But obviously, this is the next game, so I chose to watch that game. And as I said, I had a reiteration of what they were for about 11 or 12 minutes, and then they showed their resilience and showed their experience because they made it very difficult for Birmingham. So that's what I did. And then, other results, you can't affect it. If you keep looking and hoping and I'll be biting my nails even more, and it won't do me any good. So look, all you can do, as I keep saying, is it's about us. If we win enough games, then our destiny's in our hands. Obviously, others can make it easier, but we can't bank on that or can't even look towards that.
There we go. That's Nathan speaking to Tel and to Rich earlier on. Mark, so Nathan was asked about looking at the other results, and managers and players don't, but we do. Like we are glued to it every Tuesday night that we're not playing. I mean, I was at the Bromley game Tuesday working, and it felt like I spent most of the game just chatting in the Charlton Live group about Leyton Orient. Like, we focus so much on other teams. I mean, is that healthy for us? But it's exciting. I'll put it that way.
Thing is, we're Charlton fans, but we're also football fans. We'll watch probably much any game which could be on, out of curiosity sometimes just to watch a game. So you do see what other teams are doing. Is it healthy? No, it's not, because he's right. You can't affect what another team does, but do you? But I'd try pretty much. He's ever doing a due diligence, but then he would have seen the results Orient have had in the last 5 games if he's going to look at it like that. So you are keeping an eye on what other teams are doing and what kind of runs they're in and what's getting them that run. So it's an all part of the analysis. I mean, you have these guys with their laptops analysing a moth's cough now, because just to see if it affects you. And so they would have, they probably overanalyse more than us proper football fans do. You say they don't think about it, but they probably analyse it, sit down, in an office somewhere and go through it and micro-analyse it. We'll just go, oh, that was terrible. They'll look at it. Why was that terrible? How can we change it? How can we force that player to make that mistake again if it's an opposition player? Well, we just go, oh, that was bad. So they'll look at it from an expert's point of view. We look at it from a fan's point of view. So I think it's there's a difference to to that. So that's that's it.
I'm glad you say that we're allowed to look at them then, because that's what we're about to do. So forgive me, this is just for those of you watching on YouTube, I've just pulled up a website, but for those of you listening to the podcast, I'll just talk us through it very quickly. So I don't want to go fixture by fixture on what every other team has to play this season, because I think A, will be there forever, but B, we can't get carried away too much trying to predict each game. But this is just a little website stat that I found that looks at the points per game of the opponents that each side has to face between now and the end of the season. And it looks at, if you're playing them at home, it looks at that team's away points per game. And if you're playing them away, it looks at their home points per game. So it gives you like a number of all the sides. On paper, it's giving you a difficulty number. So Charlton have got the second highest out of the sides that we're left to play. So on paper, we've got the second most difficult running. So on average, the teams we're playing at home and away, when you mash the two numbers together, have had 1.5 points per game over the course of the rest of the season. Now, Wickham have got the highest with 1.52. They're obviously sitting in second in the table now with an 11-point gap ahead of us, same amount of points. So on paper, if we wanted to chase down Wickham, we've got to be happy that they've got a more difficult running than us on paper. Leyton Orient have got, Reading, if you're going down to 9th from Reading, who are obviously 3 points behind us, so I think you have got a 1.3. So on paper, they've got the easiest running. Bolton have got 1.36. Leyton Orient have got 1.32, so they've got an easier one. Huddersfield, 1.39. Stockport, 1.42. Wrexham, 1.33. And Birmingham have got a really easy running, 1.32. That's partly because they don't have to play Birmingham. So that's a load of nonsense, that thing I've just read out, isn't it? It means nothing, does it?
No, it doesn't, because that's like the averages over the games that they've played so far. And what have we still got left to play? Is it 14? 14 games?
Yeah, 14 games left, yeah.
So you again, law of averages, those numbers could be very different by the end of the season. So I don't think we need to take too much notice of those sorts of things. And again, we've said it, Naif's just said it. It's a game at a time. We haven't used the old cliche control the controllables yet, have we?
No, we're still stuck on well coached, I think.
So we just got to concentrate on our game, not worry about what everyone else is doing, not worry about who else has got to play who else. We do it on a match day. It's human nature. Even when we're at the Valley, we're all in our little group chat going, "Oh, so and so's gone one up. Oh, so and so's losing." It's just how our brains work, because at the moment we're in a position where we haven't been for such a long time, and it's really exciting because we've got something to play for. So it's only natural that we're going to keep looking at what the other teams are doing. But I believe, Nath, in the respect of, actually we don't look at the other teams in that kind of detail, because we can only control what we can do. We can't control what anyone else does. So let's not stress about it or overthink it. It's just numbers.
And I mean, the end of the season in particular, it feels like it could just be such an absolute roller coaster. So we delve into these, they've got a tough run in, and then games can go any which way. You just never expect it. I mean, everyone always talks about when we were romping to the championship title in 2000 and we played the Swindon side who hadn't won for about a million years at home, and we lost 1-0 because Dino chucked one in. I mean, these are games that you just don't expect to lose. There'll be so many twists and turns. I mean, some of the lads in the chat are talking about another away game at Leyton Orient, again, when we were romping to the League One title on New Year's Eve, and we lost 1-0 because Ben Hamer got sent off after 6 minutes. Stuff like this is going to happen all season, all for the rest of the season, I should say. There'll be Birmingham will probably lose another game at some point. Wrexham will lose and win games. It's going to be all over the place. I've got fond memories of that. Even though we lost that New Year's Eve game at Leyton Orient because it was New Year's Eve. I think we had like a 5:30 kickoff, like a late kickoff. We had the best dressed away end of all time because we were all going out straight after. I was probably rocking a Ben Sherman in that away end or something, and I went straight up into town after. We must have looked we must have looked brilliant. Right, Dean says only one stat counts, and that's the results. Don't worry about all that rubbish. Clubs bottle it at the end of the season. That's what I'm saying. There's going to be so many twists and turns here. Tom says it still gives me nightmares, that game. Isaac's saying going to need some graph action come next Thursday, Louis. Gary says, do you dream of in bed of graphs? Yeah, I do actually. It's quite sad really, isn't it? Luke says all I'm taking from this is that Louis has a graph fetish, and I do, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. Richard's looking ahead to Saturday, looking forward to Small taking on a second choice left back, and Tyrese Campbell trying to tie Reg up in knots, leaving holes in the middle for our strikers. Again, we'll ask Dave about it, but I haven't seen any indication so far that Jack Curry's red card has been appealed. They might have kept it quiet. They might have done that and kept it on the quiet. The only thing I will say is, like I said, I was at Bromley on Tuesday. I was working, so I wasn't watching the game, and I saw all the chat coming through. Orient have had a bloke sent off. It's a ridiculous decision and all that. So when I actually got round to watching it, I thought it would be a bit more clear cut than what it is. And yes, it's a one-footed lunge rather than a two-footed lunge. But I think if you watch the follow-through and the way he's caught him on the ankle, I think that would give them some doubt as to whether they're gonna appeal. I don't think I've got the clip of Nathan talking about it earlier, but Nathan Jones was asked about it, and he did say on first viewing this, and then sort of, but maybe. So I do wonder if they look back at that and think actually it's gone in quite high. But I could be talking nonsense there. By the time they actually, if they do appeal it, we'll find out on Saturday if he's there turning up. Gary says it's a red. I certainly think it's a red today. And as Paul said earlier, if they do appeal it, hopefully it only gets overturned on Sunday, which would be quite funny. Right, let's talk about our away form as well. Nathan Jones was asked about that earlier on today. Has it improved a little bit? Maybe from where it was at the start of the season. I think our performances on the road have improved, if not overall results completely. Let's have a listen to what Nathan Jones was asked about when it came to the away form earlier on today.
Yeah, our home form's been excellent, as you said. Our away form has improved over the last 7 games, certainly compared to the first 7 or 8. 8 of our last 14 are away from home. Have you focused on the away performances, particularly over the recent period, or is it just a byproduct of how well we've been playing generally? No,
look, I think you don't change too much, but obviously we're respectful of our position, but we tried to be the best versions of ourselves. In the last 2, we felt we should have had more from the last 2 away games. We definitely should have won at Blackpool, and then at Birmingham we felt with a little bit more we could have come our way with something. I'm not saying we deserve to win the game, But we should have had a better sort of return. But all we can do is concentrate what's ahead of us. And we've got two big away games next week. All we can do is concentrate on the first one, and then we'll evaluate from there.
There we go. So that's Nathan on away form. So we've won 2 of our last 1 to 5 on the road. So Northampton just before Christmas. I'm not counting the Preston game in the FA Cup, Sue. But then obviously lost at Rotherham, which was a poor performance. Won at Bolton, which probably wasn't our best performance. Drew at Blackpool, which was for a large swathe of it a decent enough performance. At the start of that second half, I should say. And then obviously Birmingham was Birmingham. We won 2. Our first was it our first 2 away games? Is that right? We won at Wigan. We won at Shrewsbury. But we lost at Reading. So we won 2 of our first 3. But overall, we've been a bit mixed on the road. But I feel like performances have improved recently. Do you see it that way? Can you put your finger on maybe why we're stronger at home than we are away from home?
I think, like we've been arguing for a while, haven't we? That you've always got to really win your home games, and then what you get away, you just go for it. And if it don't come off, it don't come off. But I think where we've had a consistent starting 11, barring a few individual changes here and then, I think on the whole that consistency then comes across into the actual way we play and the results that we get. So I think we do play looking like we're more comfortable on and off the ball. So even if we haven't got the ball in our possession, we look fairly comfortable. Not many teams have really been challenging us in terms of their attacking. I think even with the Birmingham loss, it didn't sound like it was they didn't kind of steamroll us. So I think, always going for the wins at the home games. But I think, it's just showing now that the team have got that real unity. Everyone knows each other's positions, where everyone's going to be at certain points in the games. And that's showing in the results home and away.
Tom says, apart from the 2 blips at Birmingham and Rotherham, we haven't lost away since that horror Huddersfield game in the league. But I mean, if you take out all the defeats we've had this season, you could argue we've not lost a game this season at all, really. I mean, the Rotherham was a poor performance. Birmingham, was Birmingham away, which is a difficult enough performance as it is without getting a man sent off after a few minutes. Right, and on that note, I will bring in our guest for the evening. Delighted to say that Mr. Leyton Orient himself joins us now, Dave Victor, BBC Radio London's Leyton Orient commentator. Dave, an absolute pleasure. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, good to have you on. I'm really pleased that you've been able to stay up late enough for us, because you must be knackered with the amount of travelling the O's have been doing over the last few weeks. Lost your last 2, been on a fantastic run since what, sort of November, December before then. Tell us a little bit about the story of Leyton Orient's season.
Well, it seemed to transform in one moment, and that was 9 minutes into additional time. We were losing at home in the second round of the FA Cup to Oldham Athletic. There were already sort of murmurs, and I think it would have been a very nasty atmosphere if Leyton Orient had been knocked out of the cup. And up stepped the goalkeeper, Josh Keeley. He headed home the equaliser. And the rest, you say, is history. It felt like a sliding door moment. After that, there was belief. Everybody got behind what was a very different team to the one that finished last season. And the likes of Jamie Donnelly, who were struggling up until then, have now become outstanding players, and you can see why the likes of Tottenham Hotspur think so highly of him. And you can say the same about Charlie Kelman on loan from Queen's Park Rangers. I think the schedule recently, particularly in February, has been unfair to both players and supporters. I think putting the Wrexham game in right at the start of the month, it's meant it's been Saturday, Tuesday, and it continues after we've played yourself with a trip to Rotherham. Was shown after an excellent performance and result at Wrexham. I think it was tired bodies and tired minds at Bolton Wanderers, particularly in the second half. And I think those tired minds meant that there were mistakes and lacks of concentration at crucial moments, and that's what cost us the point and probably a victory at Bolton and Birmingham. We started so brightly, high press, high energy, but that all changed in the 12th minute. I think it was a harsh red card for Jack Curry, and he'll be a notable absentee in the next 3 matches.
Yeah, I was going to ask Dave, just before I bring in Sue to bring up a question on Jack Curry, because people have been asking, have the club appealed? Because they haven't said anything. I know there was some noise on the night that it looked a little bit harsh. We've been discussing it. We've all decided it was a definite red card and he should be suspended for Saturday. But has there been any indication that it's going to be appealed before Saturday?
I haven't heard anything, and I'd be surprised if they did ask for that. I thought the red card was harsh. That's not to say that I couldn't understand why it was given. I think he played the ball initially, and I don't think there was any intent. And I don't think the linesman actually saw it as a big issue. It was the referee, and he brought out the red card. And I don't know if you've seen the analysis on Sky TV, but it certainly doesn't support any case for an appeal.
Hiya, Dave. Just looking at like your season over the course so far, was you looking in the summer? So when you started getting players in, was you expecting this kind of like running and performances from your team, or what was your sort of initial thoughts, sort of at the beginning of the season?
Well, what has happened since Leyton Orient have returned to the 3rd tier is that there's been a dependency on loan players, which means that Richie Wellens has almost had to restart each season afresh. And the summer recruitment was particularly interesting, and there was an emphasis on younger players. And it was a very difficult start in terms of the fixtures that we had, for the likes of Bolton on the opening day and then Birmingham to follow, as well as yourselves. But that was followed with defeat at Shrewsbury, and Leyton Orient were absolutely dire in that game, and we struggled against Bournemouth and needed penalties, and I think everybody was concerned. We finished last season in the top half of the division. I think everybody was satisfied with that, and looking at the division, we all thought it would be tougher than it was last season, and that actually finishing higher than we finished last year would be a real achievement. Relegation fears have turned into playoff ambitions since November, since a home defeat to Huddersfield Town. I'm enjoying the ride. It's something that I wasn't expecting.
Hey, Dave. You've built up quite a collection of ex-Charlton players there, and apart from Darren Prattley, who we all love, and we should never have let him go, with Reg and Sean Clare and DJ, we weren't really enamoured by any of those players. How has Richie got them to sort of like fulfill their potential as such? Because we always thought that Sean Clare was quite lazy as a defender. So, has he changed that a lot, or is he still being caught out from time to time?
Well, he's changed it because he plays in midfield. He's been out injured, and this is the second time that he's had a significant spell out of the first team. But when he has played in midfield, he has been a very important figure in the side, because he wins tackles in midfield and he also drives the side forward, and he's got a very good pass on him. So I think we've seen the best of him when he's played in that midfield role. DJ was outstanding against Manchester City. I don't know if you saw his performance, particularly in the first half. He was winning some solid tackles, particularly in the opening 45 minutes. And Reg has been brilliant. I mean, he's only signed because we have a real problem in the centre of the defence, and we would have been in dire straits if he hadn't signed. He was outstanding on Tuesday night at Birmingham, and it was the same against Bolton. So no complaints there at all. But as you say, Darren Prattley is the star of the show so far. He'll be 40 in April, and he's still the fittest man, in my opinion, in the squad. He's just astonishing. I don't know if you saw Charlie Kelman's goal against Wrexham, but it was Darren Prattley who got to the byline. It was Darren Prattley that got the better of the Wigan defence, and it was a superb cross.
I love Pratt so much. He was such a workhorse for us, but yeah, experienced head. Like I say, the engine on him is ridiculous. I mean, I'm nowhere near 40 yet, but I'm confident he could outrun me in any sort of regard. He's so good. I mean, just finally then, Dave, I just want to learn a little bit more about Richie Wellens, because I always listen to your interviews with him after the game. When you send him in the little group chat, he's the one I always look out for. I always find him quite fascinating. Tell us about the job he's done at Leyton Orient, because he's done an excellent job, hasn't he, at the Brisbane Road?
He's challenged the culture in the same way as Justin Edinburgh did. It's not little old Leyton Orient. He often tells me off as you listen to those interviews. He doesn't like this term, typical Leyton Orient, and it is probably something that I am guilty of, as the same as many of the faithful, because over recent years, over the past 20 years, we've been used to disappointment, and we've been used to Leyton Orient not less necessarily delivering in the bigger games. And that's something that Richie has challenged. He's definitely a winner. He's a very good communicator. He's a motivator. When Richie tells you, well done, you know, you feel good about it, and that's something that the players definitely take on board. We've spoken about Darren Prattley, and I think that what Richie has achieved is a balance of youth and experience. He prefers working with the younger players, and I think they really adore playing for him, because he is a player himself that has played at a decent level, but probably could and should have played at a higher level. I was speaking to Jordan Graham, who was my co-comms at St Andrews against his former club, and he was saying that Richie still enjoys training, and he still shows the players just how good he is, and I think that counts. So I think Richie is the leader. He is also somebody that understands the tactics of the game better than I think I've ever known anybody at Brisbane Road. And the way he makes adjustments during the course of the game can be the difference between winning and losing. And since November, it's been more wins than defeats. But it's a tough task, because there are some very tired legs and minds now in the squad.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating contest on Saturday. As Tom points out there, Wellens sounds quite similar to Jones in a sense. Trust me, Nathan has a pop at me in a lot of interviews as well, Dave. It must be the key to success in League One. Excellent. Dave, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday when our two great sides will lock horns.
Should be good, shouldn't it? Looking forward to it. Take care, everyone.
Excellent stuff. There we go. That's Dave Victor, BBC Radio London's Dave Victor, the Mr. Leyton Orient, knows everything there is to know about the O's and was very generous with you. So we're near the end of the show, only a couple of minutes left ahead of the end of the show. Tom, talk about Pratt's goal in the playoff semi-final. Like I say, it will be good to see them on Saturday. As Andrew and Gary both say, love to have Dave on the show. So how are you feeling then ahead of Saturday? Are you feeling nervous? Are you feeling excited? It's not the be-all and end-all, but feels like it now, doesn't it? In the build-up to 3 o'clock, it will feel very, very important.
Yeah, I think at the moment, I feel excited. I feel pretty chilled about it. But I think come sort of 3 o'clock on Saturday, I'll probably feel a bit different. But yeah, I feel like we've got it in us to win the game, and that's why I feel quite sort of calm at the moment. But yeah, and I guess as well with what he's just said about some tired legs and minds, hopefully they're still in place on Saturday. That'll help us out a little bit. But I think just we've already said it tonight. Play our game, worry about us. We've got it.
Lovely stuff. Right, we'll leave it there, I think. Massive game coming up over at Brisbane Road on Saturday. Really looking forward to that one. I'll see as many of you over there as possible. I'm sure that away end is going to be absolutely bouncing, as Mr. Lee Bowyer would have once said. So, yeah, the atmosphere is going to be fantastic. Let's hope that the boys can put on a display and win us what would be a massive, massive 3 points in the race for the playoffs. Thanks to everyone who's joined us live in the chat this evening. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Don't forget to check out our merch store, charltonlive.etsy.com, if you want to pick up a Charlton Live mug with an away kit on. I need to design a yellow one, I think, based on what colour everyone's wearing in the chat or on the show, I should say, this evening. Sue and Mark, been a pleasure as always.
You're welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy Saturday.
We will. Good to see the pair of you. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Everyone who's joining us, never miss another show. Always subscribe to us on your podcast apps as well, so the show always gets downloaded. Right, I'm Lou Mendes. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. Don't forget, we'll be back on Sunday morning to look back at that game at Leyton Orient. Let's hope we'll be talking about a very important 3 points for the Addicts. We shall see you again on Sunday.